How many seconds?
For 60. George will be able to put it in the studio.
Thank you.
You look so good, I just want to say, Paula, I love the way you look.
And I look like chopped liver.
Okay, 30 seconds. We're going to come up on you. You'll ask for the roll-in, okay? So someone has to be over there to cue the roll-in. Right. Okay, 20 seconds. Okay, 10 seconds. Look for your scent.
Hi, this is Paula Gloria, and this show is called Farther Down the Rabbit Hole because we like to go into topics more deeply. There could be no topic that merits an in-depth investigation than war and the cause of war, both on our grand political level, our social level, our global level, and also on the level of our own personal human relationships. It turns out that throughout the ages, men of great wisdom, men and women of great wisdom, traditions of great wisdom, often called the great work, have recognized that the principles of peace and the principles of war are the same principles, whether you're looking at it macrocosmically or microcosmically. I'm extremely honored to have with me a guest here today who shares a heritage with myself, and that is a Greek heritage. And what I want to do at the beginning of this show is have a roll-in of Paul Kapetanopoulos'
A 10-minute piece from January 18th, 1991 at the San Francisco Golden Gate Park, where I took my 3 children to participate in a demonstration against the war. And my 8-year-old oldest daughter at the time, Katerina, was passionately absorbed by the reality of the war. And she was crying deeply, and I was trying to console her. And one might see the difference with my former wife that eventually, 8 years later, led to a divorce and her taking her to the United States Air Force recruiting station to recruit her. So it's very painful, but it's also very powerful, and I hope it helps families see that there can be differences between a mother and a father, and how the children might fare because of that.
So without further ado, I want to have this roll-in, which you can also find on YouTube. It's called A House Divided. And after the roll-in, pay careful attention. I want to go into it in more depth and see if we can come to new realities. So without further ado, let's have that roll-in.
It's okay, Katrina, you can cry.
That's why we're here, Katrina. That's why we're here. All the children. Give us that peace sign, Thanas. Attaboy. Attaboy. And don't take it. Figure out how. Bring 'em home. Bring 'em home.
Pretty dramatic footage.
Yeah, it is. You need to, that's why we're here.
Can you actually see the women dressed in a burqa holding a doll somewhere in that footage? Okay. And that's what the wall looks like for those people coming in.
This is our sign.
That's why we're here.
And anybody that needs sign assistance should come up to the back of the stage, and we'll help you get situated so we can sign for you. There are recycling containers near the food vendor to the right of the stage, and there are also recycling containers around the toilet.
Maybe when you have something to show and tell about, or maybe when you have this question Mrs. Turpin has asked you about what you want to do if you could
And I
school
also
the
got
world.
an announcement that there's
Whatever.
an initial
I think
estimate
you have a better
of
answer than you
10,000
had
people
before now,
at
don't
our
you?
demonstration today.
Yeah?
This video thing for the class so the class can see.
Yeah, maybe you can.
Maybe
Yeah.
we will.
Yeah, I think we're making our own tape for everybody to see.
Other people stop the war. I want Melissa to see how bad war
You,
How many people want to do something good?
because Melissa's never been to a demonstration.
she has her own problems, Katina.
How many people
Well, you have now. You've been to, what, 3 demonstrations?
Volunteer.
Hey, you're-
No, I mean, I've been to 3.
You have 2.
No, I've been to 2.
No, we went to the other one in Los Angeles
I
where we
went.
stayed in the
I know
motorhome.
I went to one in LA and I went to one here. And then the next he went to the burning plains, he went to this one, and he went to the one in LA. And I went to the burning plains, remember?
No, when we all were together at the one in LA during the daytime, we didn't get out of the motorhome. Remember when Daddy got upset that I turned the camera off?
Oh yeah,
That was a demonstration too.
Oh, that's
That's because war is bad. That's why your daddy and I are here. That's why all these people are here. Because war kills people. And we don't want that. The horsies are out, Paul.
Ooh, that horse.
Oh, they got the horsies.
Wearing a pin that said a child in Baghdad died from my car. And that happened because I bet they had to burn to get the oil to get money to buy the
Yeah, that's what the pin's trying to show you. That's why we're out here. But we can put a stop to it. Look at all these people are out here today. See all the people that are here today? And when enough people go out, then it's going to stop. Yeah.
When you were 8 years old and the Korean War was on, was it this bad?
I didn't know about it. It was this bad, but there weren't people out in the street. I didn't have a demonstration to go to. I had to wait till I was in my early 20s to go to all the demonstrations in Vietnam. But we put a stop to that war, and we're going to put a stop to this war. Look at all the children that are here, huh? Yeah.
You know the policemen here?
Yeah.
Since they're mostly good people in San Francisco, are those policemen gonna be good?
Yeah, they're going to be good. They're going to be good.
Build a majority movement. Support the demand.
Come on, this is the thing. Peace now, peace now, peace now, peace now, peace now, peace now, peace now.
Katerina was concerned what would happen if the Nas got drafted.
He's never going to be drafted because they're never going to let it happen. We got 15 years to figure that out. Okay?
They draft girls too.
They didn't draft me because I fought it.
Well, now they have girls involved in the Army.
I'll never let my daughters go there. We'll move to Canada. Yeah, don't worry. Another country if we have to.
And then when I said, if the war doesn't keep on going like this,
It won't. It won't. We're going to put a stop to it.
What do you want to do, Katerina?
if this war keeps on going on, I want to get up. If the war keeps going on, I want to get off the earth.
Don't worry. We're not getting off the earth. We're going to take over the government. We're going to put good people in the government, and it's never going to happen again. Okay. Jenna, is your focus good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cut it, Jenna. Let it run a second or two, and then cut it.
Let's make the most of it.
Boston.
I felt like crying, but I didn't at one point. And there was this sign that was on the floor. It was this big black and white sign. It wasn't real. Someone drew it. It was a big black cardboard piece of paper.
Yeah.
And painted in white, there was this huge graveyard with all these crosses in the ground, and there was a dove flying over it, and it was crying.
Well, we're going to make sure that the doves are smiling, okay? All right. That's why we're here, to do something. We're here to do something about it, right? Yeah.
It is urgent that you want to into my mind. It wasn't so much his word, but a rhythm that many of us may have heard during the 1988
That's intervention.
So that was a 10-minute roll-in of an anti-war demonstration for the war in Iraq in 1991 in Golden Gate Park. I have a particular affection for that area because I'm from the Bay Area, and that was the location where there used to be the Jefferson airplane playing and the Love-Ins and the great hopes for transformation of the 60s, which ironically was going on at the same time as Vietnam. So I think it doesn't take people to be that thoughtful to realize there are enormous paradoxes that take place in our society. And my constant search is for those civilizations that seems to have absorbed more knowledge. And in particular, when that knowledge is really running, you see the health and you see the healings. So how have different cultures approached the healings? In our culture, mostly Judeo-Christian, Islamic, I'm not too certain on the Islamic, except say through the Sufis, the spectacular healings when the Kundalini is opened and the energies are running. But in more or less Judeo-Christian, the example of a master that we most have heard of and respect is Jesus Christ. And so in the Bible, you often hear about making the lame walk and the blind see. But to understand the science behind it, I think you need to dig deeper. And I know for myself, this search took me to India on several occasions. One, India came to me in the form of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. I started transcendental meditation at the University of California at Santa Cruz in 1972. Eventually, I think by 1980, about the time Deepak Chopra was coming on the scene, I was at a big international conference in New Delhi. And at that time, I got the full experience of what India was when so many people from all over the world started falling sick. And we were taken to a part of Delhi where you would just see wild chickens running across the road and dirt, muddy roads. And you would see, prominent members of society pulling up in their fancy cars, sitting alongside of the poorest people. And when the healer was seeing them, and he would see hundreds during the day, they were no different to him. And again, I watched with huge fascination. So the reason I'm having such an extensive introduction is because that 10-minute roll-in is very important, but most people, I think it's been up for about a year, and it's only had 59 hits, to really understand the import of it and how it is really well labeled, a house divided. Our country is now divided, and the man who I'm very honored to have as a guest on my show, and will be a guest on a following show when we have a healer working with him who I have enormous respect for, and that's Robert Young. But I first want you to have an experience of scripture from an ancient civilization. And then, Paul, I know you're a professor, you have huge qualifications. I'm going to refer my viewers to your show with Harold Channer, just to understand how qualified you are. But I want you to experience right now the Vedas. So I'm going to be reading out of the Rig Veda. And this, by the way, was a hymn I used to least like when we were reading it as part of the Cities program. I really didn't like it when we came to this one, but now I'm beginning to understand the significance. In India, they have the deity, the rishi, and the meter, and all of these are important aspects of knowledge. What your object of focus is, who is doing the object of focus, and the rhythm with which it's done. So in this case, the deity is Agni, the slayer of Rakshasas. You can think of them as demons. The rishi is Payu of the race of Bharadwaja. Again, they have a tradition in India. People come from a certain genetic line that passes on this Shakti, or this healing energy, or this energy that keeps society together. The meter of the first 21 stanzas is Trishtub, of the remaining 4 Anushtub. I offer clarified butter to the powerful Agni, the slayer of Rakshasas. I approach the most spacious dwelling, the friend of worshippers. Agni, sharpening his flame, is kindled by pious men. May he guard us from malignant spirits by day and by night. Jatavedas, who hast teeth of iron, consume the Yatudana's flame when kindled. Destroy the destructive spirits with thy tongue. Cut up the eaters of flesh and put them in thy mouth. Agni, the destroyer of the Rakshasas, who has 2 rows of teeth, sharpening them both, apply them to the Rakshasas, and preserve both the upper and the lower world. And march, radiant Agni, against the Rakshasa in the firmament. Seize the Yatudana with thy jaws. Agni, do thou, bending thy arrows by means of our sacrifices and praise, and sharpening the javelins with thy splendors. Pierce with them the Yatudanas to the heart, break their arms when raised against thee. Agni Jatavedas, cut through the skin of the Yatudana. Let thy destructive thunderbolt destroy him with its fire. Sever his joints. May the flesh-desiring flesh-eater devour his mutilated body. Wherever thou now beholdest him, Agni Jatavedas, whether standing or moving, or passing along the paths in the firmament, do thou, O shooter, sharpening thy arrows, transfix him with thy shaft. And defend me, Jatavedas, with thy darts when I am seized. Defend me from the Yatudana who has seized me, anticipating him. Do thou, Agni, blazing fiercely, slay him. May the swift-flying vultures, the flesh-eaters, devour him. Agni, youngest of the gods, announce to me present at this thy sacrifice, which is thy Yatudana. Who does this? Destroy him with thy kindled flame. Beholder of men, consume him with thy brilliance. Protect this sacrifice, Agni, with thy sharp glances. Lead it, sage Agni, forward to the acquisition of riches. Let not the Yatudanas harm thee, beholder of men, the destroyer of Rakshasas, blazing fiercely. Regard, beholder of men, the Rakshasa amongst the people. Cut off his 3 heads, cut off his flanks with thy might. Cut off the triple foot of the Yatudana. Agni Jatavedas, let the Yatudana who defeats thy truth with falsehood come thrice into the confinement of thy flames. Crushing him with thy might, drive him from the presence of me, thy worshipper. Cast Agni upon the 2 roaring Rakshasas, that eye wherewith thou beholdest the Yatudana striking with his hoof. Like a Tarvan with celestial radiance, burn down the ignorant Rakshasa who assails truth with falsehood. Today, Agni, when the married pair curse each other, then the praisers produce bitter words in anger against each other. Do thou pierce the Yatudanas through the heart with thy arrow, which is generated from thy wrathful mind. Destroy the Yatudanas with thy scorching fire, destroy the Rakshasas. Agni with thy heat, destroy with thy radiance those who believe in vain gods. Fiercely blazing, destroy the insatiable. Let all the gods today destroy the murderous Yatudana. Let our sharp imprecations encounter him. May the arrows hit the speaker of falsehood in a vital part. May the Yatudana go into the bondage of the all-pervading Agni. The Yatudana who fills himself with the flesh of man, and he who fills himself with the flesh of horses or of other animals, and he who steals the milk of the cow, cut off their heads with thy flame. The milk of the cow is annually produced. Let not the Yatudana consume it, O beholder of men. Whichever of them would like to satiate himself with the ambrosia, do thou, Agni, pierce that contending Rakshasa with thy flame in a vital part. Let the Yatudana drink poison from the cattle. Let the Rakshasa, hard to overcome, be cut to pieces for the sake of Aditi. May the divine Savitri give them over to destruction. May they be deprived of the food of herbs. Thou, Agni, hast from old time opposed the Yatudana. The Rakshasas have never overcome thee in battles. Burn the murderous, flesh-eating Rakshasas one by one. Let them not escape thy divine weapon. Do thou, Agni, protect us on the south, on the north, on the west, and on the east. May these thy undecaying, scorching, blazing flames consume the perpetrator of wickedness. Royal Agni, who art a sage, protect us by thy wisdom on the west, on the east, on the south, on the north. Do thou, O friend, who art undecaying, preserve me, thy friend, to old age. Do thou, who art immortal, protect us who are mortal. We meditate, strength-born Agni, on thee, the accomplisher of rights, the sage of fearful form, the destroyer of the treacherous, day by day. Consume, Agni, the treacherous Rakshasa with thy all-pervading sharp flame, with thy flame-pointed darts. Consume, Agni, these pairs of Yatudanas and Kimadinis. I wet thee, O sage, the invincible one, with my praises. Wake up. Destroy, Agni, with thy flame, the impetuous might of the Yatudana. Break the strength of the Rakshasa. So that's the end of that particular hymn, and the reason that I took so long with this is because this is such an important issue. We're not just talking about one man who put a huge amount of attention on this issue of not only war in Iraq, because that protest was in 1991, and I think we need to realize we need very powerful medicine to address this, but it also brings out the metaphysical principle that what you put your attention on grows in life. So here you have a family that's at an anti-war demonstration, obviously lovingly conducted. The children are so innocent, you can see that they're crying because of the implications. It's really hitting them. You think, well, children are so young and rather unknowledgeable and ignorant, and yet you feel these heartfelt sobs for the war that's going on. And yet you see this professor, Paul Kapetanopoulos, which means the son of a captain, has labeled this show a house divided. And so for that reason, I'm saying in ancient civilizations, they had long hymns. They had entire castes. They had priests that were totally dedicated to the art of creating harmony in the environment. And today, we have, within our tradition, we have stories, but they're mostly stories, and every once in a while when we see evidence of the healing and of the rectification of what's out of sync in society, it's often called fairy tales, even among those who are priests in the different religions. And so I just want to end my spiel before we hear how this is affecting Paul, because my concern is that Paul, when I went to Harold Channer's house for Josh Walensky's 75th birthday party, they told me there was a blind man who knew me. And I said, that's not possible because I don't know anybody blind who's talked to me. And it turns out that after he introduced me, to his work about the strife in the Middle East, something which I was very interested in, and it even encouraged Webster Tarpley to become involved in. Webster Tarpley is an expert on synthetic terror, 9/11 synthetic terror, and he was talking about what had gone on in the Balkans. So Webster avoided this extremely difficult topic, and yet this one man took it on himself. So when he told me that his eyesight was stress-related, I was so aware of it. So I want to leave my healing part with this one last thought, and that is an excerpt from according to Mark in the Bible, and this is Jesus. Jesus and his disciples came to Jericho, and he and his disciples and a large crowd were leaving Jericho. Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus, a blind beggar, was sitting by the roadside. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout out and say, "Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me." Many sternly ordered him to be quiet, but he cried, and even more loudly, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Jesus stood still and said, "Call him here." And they called the blind man, saying to him, "Take heart, get up, he is calling you." So, throwing off his cloak, he sprang up and came to Jesus. Then Jesus said to him, "What do you want me to do for you?" The blind man said to him, "My teacher, let me see again." Jesus said to him, "Go, your faith has made you well." Immediately he regained his sight and followed him on the way. Now, I believe this is not just a story, and a lot of people question whether what's in the Bible are stories or not, and oftentimes the great intellectuals of the church are not those that can demonstrate the healings. And on the other hand, those that are having the healings happen oftentimes don't have an interface with the intellectuals. So my guest here today, who has wanted so much for this 10 minutes, that you said so much of your life
Well,
is
I
involved
think it's
with
a
this?
touchstone of my life prior and afterwards, based on those 10 minutes as sort of the reality of my family and what happened afterwards. And I think you can see the genesis of that when my former wife said, "And they draft girls too."
I understand, but the reason I read that long verse was for that one line when the married pair curse each other, that when you have stress in the environment, it tears apart husband and wife, it tears apart nations, and it's always been of the greatest bafflement and puzzlement.
Yes.
How do you take care of the precious healers when the healing energy is running, and how can you make it so that the intellectuals, because I know you're an intellectual,
Yeah.
You're a professor of psychology at Columbia, right? You were?
No, it was Columbia College in Chicago.
Chicago, yeah.
Yeah, that was.
And you gave me a very extensive explanation from a psychological point of view of the relationship with your wife, and I invited you to come on the show to see if I could instigate going farther down the rabbit hole, because when you first gave me this very precious DVD about the independence of Greece.
No, that's not what you're holding.
Well, let's assume it was.
Okay, all right.
Because I want my audience to know that I am known for getting into very grisly topics. But when you were showing me this, I was avoiding you because it was like too much information. And when Harold told me how brilliant and how smart you are, I said, he's one man, and he has on his shoulders the Greek Holocaust, the Armenian Holocaust, the genocides. That we don't even hear of in this country. And it's enormous. And so when I heard that your eyesight went away because of stress.
Seemingly because of thyroid condition.
Because of stress, because of a thyroid condition, I was very, very concerned.
Well, thank you.
And I do think that Robert Young, who is a healer that Alan brought to New York and discovered, can be helping this. And so we've run out of time for my show. What final words would you like to say before we turn this over to Alan's show with
I was
Robert?
thinking about last night, you're having me on the show today, and I was thinking, well, okay, the healing for my eyesight, but to be frank with you, I'm hoping we could put all our energy, or the people watching this show can direct their energy the healing of the earth, the world, the conflicts, so that if there's healing, perhaps my daughter, who's in the United States Air Force right now, might be healed and spared the conflict and the wrath of war, because there's a small group of people, as you say earlier from the reading, that work with deception and demonic energy of lying to people, and that always gets us into trouble, and hopefully the truth can set us free. So if I was hoping about half of the energy could be directed towards a world healing of the forces of war towards peace.
I know it was difficult for you to get over here from Astoria, and I called you up an hour late because, Paul can't read his cell phone anymore, so he didn't know what time it was. I was supposed to call him at 9:30. And the last thing you said when we were trying to worry about making all the time constraints was, let's just take it as it comes. Let's just make ourselves available.
Yeah.
So we've come to the end of my show, and I want to thank you for embarking on this journey. And I want to thank all of my guests, and I'm going to link this up on the internet with what will be following, which will be Robert Young. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me and giving the opportunity for the energy to go forward.
Yes.
As I hoped it would.
Great. Thank you.
And may the truth set us free.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. So I think you see what I am most honored about my heritage. I really believe that there was a reason that the Greeks got involved with the New Testament, and I also think there was ancient wisdom in Egypt, and I think today we can start to put all of these together and bring out the best of all of the traditions, instead of saying that religion is something that makes people divisive and fight.
Yeah.
So thank you, Paul.
Well, they probably all have a commonality.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll discover that. And there's the bell. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This has been an episode Farther Down the Rabbit Hole, and I feel we've gone very far down, and we still have more to go.
Yeah.
So thank
you. Thank you for being there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Alan, how do you want to take it from here?
Hey, go ahead. Why don't you guys just say hi?
Hi.
Hi,
I'm Robert. Paul,
nice
is it?
to see you again. I think I saw you for a couple of minutes when you were coming out of the studio.
That's correct.
Last week.
Yeah.
That's how we met.
It was an amazing meeting.
Yeah.
You were just sitting there and...
I had just done a Harold Channer's show, and you were coming out of the studio yourself.
Yeah, interviewed by Alan from New Realities TV. So tell me a little about what I can feel, where your sight is withdrawn.
Yes, I lost my eyesight in my right eye in a matter of 2 days 5 years ago while living in Brooklyn. And then my eyesight on the left side is gone. I have about 10% foggy vision.
Right.
Theoretically, with an MRI, there's some kind of a lesion pushing down behind my right optic nerve. By the way, I feel very fortunate it isn't anything worse than that.
Yeah.
So I count my blessings every day. I say, thank God, it's not anything worse. So I feel very fortunate.
Great.
Yeah.
It actually comes from a different area to what you think.
And what's that? We've only really talked for about 3-4 minutes.
We have, yeah.
So,
but I'm getting a feeling that it's coming from more down in the centre of your body, just about halfway down the backbone. There's a lot of stress there, and it seems like there's a lot of energy blocked there from frustration.
Yeah, I do have seemingly a broken heart, you might say.
Yeah.
Because I put 16 years in a marriage, and I directed all my energy towards my children. And in the clip you just saw at the demonstration in 1991, January, my daughter had such deep power and passion as an innocent child against the reality of war.
Yeah.
And in that clip, it sort of foreshadows what my wife was going to do 8 years down the road when I'm trying to calm down my daughter. She's, I believe, accelerating anxiety by saying, and they draft girls too. And
Okay.
Well, first of all, there was no draft. But 8 years later, she drove my daughter to the Air Force recruiting station. And my daughter's been in Iraq. And so she's in military intelligence now,
Fine.
learning the opposite of what she was actually learning on her own. It isn't like I gave her lectures. I think most children instinctively know that violence leads to violence.
Correct.
So,
Do you also know that she's there for a reason?
I must say it kind of escapes me right now, but I do know, having been a professor in the 70s and having counseled for free Vietnam vets with post-traumatic stress disorder, that of course there are a lot of wonderful people in the military, and in fact there are rumors that the Pentagon has actually withheld starting a war with Iran. I don't know if you've heard that, but there are a lot of people who just don't feel like going overboard with mayhem and destruction.
Yeah. There's a lot of very special people
Yes, I
come
do
into
know.
the world. And your daughter's one,
I do believe she is
Yeah.
one, yeah.
and she has to be where the source is to change its direction.
Yeah, that's what I've been hopefully thinking.
So understand that, you know, even with yourself, you're in and have been in the firing line for a long time of all sorts of information.
Yes.
And it's just like being under the searchlight.
Yeah.
And all that focus is on you, but you can't move anything by getting hold of the searchlight. The beam is there on you and you can't do anything with that beam. So the only way you can move anything is to go back to the source where the searchlight actually is, where the light is generating from, before you can move the focus. So I'd like to actually try to move the focus for you if we can, so that you're not at the end of the beam all the time, where you're at effect of the light, it's actually a darkness, but it's still a focus, and you go back to where you can actually make a difference. You can actually turn the torch, move the focus, and change the world. It's not by thought. This is very important, because the thought is the end result of the energy that you've been and the focus that you've been under. So you've attempted all your life to move that beam, and you can't move it from where you are. And so the inner part of you has to see that there's another way. And the other way can be so simple, because all you have to see is that you have to be in a different focal plane to make a difference. While ever you're in the focal plane of discussion, of results, of disaster, you can't move anything in the consciousness, because the consciousness is back at the source. So if we're just gradually getting there, right? We're just kicking things around so you can feel that there is a possibility.
Going back to the source.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And when you go back to the source, you have all the answers. You have solutions. You have everything to present to say, move that focus. You have it all, and it's in your heart. It's in your experience, and it's in everything that you picked up while you're in that focus. So then you take it all back with the total solution. and you present it at a level that can change the world. I'm not going to give you any detail on how you do that at this point, because I know you're starting to feel it's possible.
I think I feel all the time a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So if we can actually just kick around the fact that there is another way, and that it's a very elevated and very elegant way, in you being who you are, rather than be an effect of where you've been, you're going to feel a lot more capable of just connecting and leaning back towards a totally healthy state in the world. Because you have that power and you have that experience, but more so because of the special person you are. So now we're getting into the energy side of things, where you've blocked the energy because you said this is not working, and that's understandable.
you mean once you distinguish that things aren't going the way you hoped they're
Totally.
going, that creates the block?
It's totally. Particularly with someone as powerful as you. You're powerful enough to shut yourself down. You're also powerful enough to shift the focus.
I must say I've been having a bit of trouble doing that, in the sense that what you're saying seems to be obvious, but it's so obvious it might escape me.
That's it.
And it's like
That's beautiful.
a bad riddle.
Yeah, but that's beautiful.
But I think I need a little bit of help in your sort of giving an example of.
Yeah, well, remember it comes from your heart and not from your head. And so if you start to connect further with your heart and know its presence and know its power as you used to, more than just love, it is that gentle, endless strength that always succeeds.
Are you saying it's connected to prayer and wishful intention in a positive way?
No, I'm saying it's you. And it's your heart. And it will go anywhere and do anything that you desire.
Physically?
Physically, yes. So it's a new concept to play with, but it's one that you've shown many people over the years, and you've shown them that they've got to have heart or they disappear into this endless world of speculation and analysis. Until they actually get out of that analytical circle, they can't move anywhere.
Which was a head trip, a thought trip.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you've been showing people that for a long time, and you do it by actually reflecting what's in you.
Yeah. My former wife, in the very beginning, she used to say, "Oh, everybody knows what you're feeling. You wear your feelings on your sleeve."
Great.
But it seemed like I was manifesting that.
Go back to that. Go back to wearing everything on your sleeve, wearing your heart on your sleeve, your feelings, the whole bit, and the energy will start to flow such that you can transmit your total desire for the universe and for your family and for everybody else all at once.
But it's Robert, right?
Yeah.
Robert, I feel like I have been letting my feelings show, but are you suggesting I haven't been directing those feelings somewhere?
Yeah.
In space and time?
Correct.
To, say, in this case right now, my daughter.
Yeah, because it's a focus that you're trying to create while you're in the focus of all the problems. You can't stand in the beam, as I said, and actually move the beam to another place. You have to go back to where the beam originates.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, the here and now thought process blocks the original feeling of love and concern from going to that source.
Correct. Now, love and concern is not going to do much if it's not felt. So the only way you can have the world and your daughter and everybody else to feel the love and concern is if you transmit it straight back to your Creator, your God, your best thing, whatever you call it, and allow it to be transmitted.
You mean surrendering
No,
your feelings to a higher power?
not surrendering, delivering
All right, delivering.
through the higher power to your daughter. So delivering through the higher power to those who are creating war. Delivering the full solution through a higher power to government. Delivering through that higher power.
Could that be called prayer?
It can be, but you are much more connected than that. You don't have to ask. You never did have to ask. The instant you decide and you have a total heart's desire, it happens. All the things that came out of nowhere for you in the past, all the beautiful things that came out of nowhere, came because of that desire through your higher source. And it doesn't matter what you call it. The times that it happened, you weren't deep in prayer, as you know it. You were deep in, wow, I can do it.
Yeah, I think I'm going back to the conception day of my daughter, my first daughter, and that was a wow.
Beautiful, the energy's starting to flow.
Yeah, well,
Beautiful.
to go back to the microsecond of
Yeah.
conception with the pure energy
Yep.
of...
So if that's the most important thing in your life, that is your source. That's how you picture your source right now. And you go back to there and you deliver a total solution. And it will be seen by all those who can make a difference. And it may not be the person you decide that makes the difference. You just deliver the whole picture of what's inside you so that it can be handled in the correct manner.
Yeah, I made a video letter to my daughter, and the love and the conception of her took place after I had visited in Dallas, Texas.
It's too direct.
The JFK assassination site, and I was struck by the...
But can you see what's happening there?
I'm going into a thought.
You're going into
away
the
from
end focal points, the results, not the source.
No, but I'm just trying to tell you the antecedent of source to the source.
Okay.
The day before.
Yep.
And I was struck by the fact that tremendous evil had taken place right here. And in that acknowledgement, tremendous joy took place with the love and the conception of my daughter in Austin, Texas, actually.
Right.
And the last day we were together as a family, we're in Houston, Texas, and I wanted to go to Austin and explain all that to my daughter, but I got interrupted. My former wife put the children on a bus to Chicago saying, oh, they're going to go there and get an apartment, and Dad will be joining in 2 weeks. But that wasn't really her intention. Maybe I'm over-talking it right now, but those were the circumstances of the original source. They got interrupted. I never got a chance to explain that to my daughter, and hopefully I can go back so that out of great evil can come great good. And
it doesn't work like that.
No?
No, I'm sorry.
Tell me how you see it.
There is no need to fix the evil. There is only need to put everything in a perfect place now. So if your daughter could feel the essence of the joy of the new world that you see
Uh-huh.
doesn't need the rest. Doesn't need any explanation. Only needs the perfection of the world of your Creator, where everything is perfect. That's the one you see.
You mean in the now?
Yeah.
But
in the
when-
now and in the future, without explaining
I know,
the
but
past.
when you've used the term the original source,
That is the original source.
the now,
Yeah.
well,
Hmm.
I guess I'm
That is the original source. And that's why I keep
only
saying...
the now is the now.
Yeah, and the ultimate of whatever being you experience is the original source. Because it happens now, and it did happen now at that time. The source now can actually adjust that, but it doesn't adjust backwards. It just puts new in place. Just like your eyesight,
Uh-huh.
it can be put back in place if you allow it to come to you rather than you trying to look out.
I think modern ophthalmology would be interested in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you allow the gift to come to you, the gift of sight is actually more than just looking.
Yeah. What's remarkable about what you're saying is that it's so obviously common sense, but we live in a world where these thoughts are interrupted. And
Yeah.
even myself, I know there's much emphasis on experiencing the now, but they're words unless you can actually
So
get
right
into
now,
it.
we're
Yeah.
sitting here
Uh-huh.
and we're connecting to one another,
Mm-hmm.
and you can feel a difference until you talk about the past. And then the shutter comes down.
Yeah.
So as soon as you started to talk about the birth of your daughter, the energy started to flow. And the grateful feeling that you have inside actually showed on the outside. And at that point, everything was beautiful until you led into the difficulty.
Yeah. Well,
So-
I guess I got confused with you talking earlier about going back to the original source.
So, yeah.
Uh,
So the original source is your Creator.
Uh-huh.
Good, bad or indifferent, it all fits. So in the world that you're experiencing at the moment, it's good because I'm starting to actually confuse a few of the patterns. And in confusing those patterns, we'll start to get an energy flow that you haven't felt for a long time. And that's my aim, so that you can actually have something more to play with than the past or the difficulties. And you can start to feel there is something active in you that can make a difference whether you can see or not. And then it's not important that you have difficulty or had difficulty. It'll disappear in the joy of the beautiful feelings
Uh-huh.
that you can allow in your life.
Uh-huh.
And you watch. If you're allowed to move the energies, you will start to
The
feel...
God-given energies that we
Yes.
all have
Yeah.
that get convoluted by our society and a lot of
And
thought.
it doesn't matter why,
Uh-huh.
because right now you can play with that energy and enjoy it. And the pressure that you're starting to feel in your head at the back here is because there's an energy starting to move
Uh-huh.
that hasn't moved for a long time. And you'll feel changes, okay?
Yeah, you sure are giving me a good talking to.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've heard this rap in a long time.
Yeah.
But it's it sort of falls into place.
Yeah.
What you're saying.
Because,
And if you believe it to be so, it is so.
no,
No?
you know it.
You have to know it. You just know it.
Yeah, I often
feel
tell
it.
people, you know, if I came up to you and said, do you believe you've got a front door on your house? You'd say, no, I know.
Yeah.
And I'd say, but do you believe? And you'd say, go away, I know there's a front door there.
Yeah.
There is no comparison. They don't connect together. If you believe doesn't mean it is.
Uh-huh.
But if you know it is, you don't have any other questions. And you know your connection, and you know your strength, and you know you can make a difference to the world, and you're very disappointed that it seems like it failed. It hasn't failed. I can assure you what you're doing is so important to the world. You're just not seeing it at the moment, and you don't want to see it until it proves to you that it's real. And so your body follows you.
I think I've fallen victim at times, even last night thinking about coming on today, that I know my daughter is a very powerful person for an 8-year-old in that clip, and maybe for most 8-year-olds, and that how could that all evaporate and go away?
It hasn't.
Yeah, and the thing is to just kind of believe that it's still there and it will manifest itself.
You know it's there.
Uh-huh.
And it's manifesting doesn't determine whether it's there or not.
Mm-hmm.
When we're talking about your front door, you know, but I've never seen it. I don't have to. It's there. You know what's in your daughter, and you know what's in you. And it is much, much more than what's showing on the outside. Allow it to be there.
You may have the faith, and
just allow it to be there.
Yeah.
Don't you see what happens when you have to put a word to it? It becomes the same as all the other things you have to have faith in. No.
Just feel it.
Know it.
Know it.
And know that you are making a difference. I can assure you you're making a really, very big difference. You're sitting here talking to people, and you are actually considering what I'm talking to you about.
Mm-hmm.
You are actually considering that there is another way. And that is a beautiful thing. Transmit that to the world. You will allow people to actually change their world. Just like you will allow your daughter to change her world, because as soon as it changes in you, it is transmitted to her because you're so closely connected.
Uh-huh.
The precision that you can have in making sure that your energy is such that it's perfect for her will change the world. This is true because you're transmitting it to everybody. And you're sitting back here using the skills of the unknown in the greatest way possible to support your daughter and everybody like her without anybody really understanding how you're doing it.
Because it just is.
Correct.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the reasons for coming on is to, as an educator, is to try to help other people if they can see themselves through me.
Yeah.
Or see their children through my...
Great. And if you're going to actually pull all that energy back to where it's right now, it's constructive and it's totally helpful to your daughter, everybody else will be able to do the same. Because they're looking at you and they're seeing that you're going, well, maybe I can do that. Maybe I can do something different.
Uh-huh.
Maybe there's a little bit more in me than I thought. But the only way that works is if you are aware that there is another way and that you can do it without knowing how.
And that source actually is within you.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
And it's a total connection to the greatest being that you can possibly know.
I don't think, Robert, we get too many reinforcing messages the way you're giving right now. And the obvious goes unnoticed sometimes. And I think I've been stuck in that spot without hearing actually healing words. I get
That's
the
good.
feeling you have healing words about the way it can be done or works.
And you can start to feel a little pressure in your chest where your heart is starting to respond.
I think I can, to be honest with you.
Good.
Because there's a lightening of the spirit, I think.
Good. Yeah. And your eyes have actually changed.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. You're actually getting more active with the movement of your eyes. They're not just sitting there. So,
Oh, yeah.
So understand that your heart is your vision.
Mm-hmm.
And your heart is where you work from.
Yeah.
And your connection to your source, your creator, your greatest, your higher being, whatever you like to know it as, is there permanently. Just like you know your daughter is a special being that at one point demonstrated it highly.
Yes.
But it's not a case of losing anything. We come in here and we don't lose anything.
So if I go into the that was then and this is now, and the now is different than the then, that tricking of myself into not believing can actually trigger.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, the full circle back to her
Yeah,
in the here and now.
Yeah, but remember, you've just given your brain a demonstration, and you've ticked some boxes in your brain. Does nothing.
That's the old thought.
No, well, it makes you feel better, but
No, well, sometimes it's hard to describe the.
well, you don't.
Yeah.
Because remember, you can't transmit the beauty of your own being unless it's through your heart. And when you're working with that unknown force that you know very well, just know it's like you have a front door. You have that unknown ability. You are going to change it because that's what you came here for. And you're not going to ask how because you're the only one who knows how. And your brain will never understand it.
So just
know
being
and make the difference.
in the it is
Yep.
is the light, and the doubting and the thinking that was then and this is now, which is opposite, is the darkness.
Yeah.
So that source actually emanates from within you.
Yeah. And your interaction with people, as you're doing now, your interaction with people who are of similar structure internally, similar structure in divinity, will actually give you much more confidence in the massive powers that you carry within your being. And I'm saying that to you, I'm not saying it to everybody.
I think I'm catching on a bit here.
Yeah.
And it's been sort of in the dark, I guess, about it.
So that massive skill that you have that is undefinable by words stands out to me so much that I'm saying, I know you have that, and I know that you are making a difference, and I know that there is another way.
Thank you. And you're saying that sometimes you can try too hard to make a difference?
If it's hard work, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, it shouldn't be hard.
No.
And it shouldn't be stressful.
No.
No.
There is, you see, those names you've just given me, like hard and stressful, they are really hard work.
Yeah, they are.
It takes a long time to build those.
It's the Protestant work ethic
Yeah.
in our society.
Yeah.
Whatever is good has to be hard work.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're
So
saying
the
it's
simplicity and the love and the joy in your heart will just lift everybody to where everything flows correctly.
Yeah, yeah.
And you don't have to prove it face to face. The connection you have at a distance is enormous.
It's sort of the smiling Buddha.
Beautiful.
You just know.
Yeah.
And
Beautiful.
if you just know, you can smile and not be grinning
That's
about
it.
how hard it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, these are good words. I think I listen to a lot of talk radio, you know.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard this kind of presentation. And I must say, it makes sense. Or I feel it. I just feel it then. And I
That's
appreciate
beautiful.
your effort today.
That's really beautiful. One of the things that you may come across when you walk away from our discussion is that you just physically feel a little bit different. So remember that that's our connection. And you can call on that anytime you wish. This is what happens with the connection of universal beings. That you threw your hand in the air and said, I need a little bit more here, And so somebody's turned up without knowing, and you're getting that little bit more.
Yeah.
So never give it away, and know that it's yours. That's a gift that you asked someone to bring, and I'm bringing you that energy connection
Yeah.
to support you whenever you wish. And I'm only a phone call away.
Well, thank you.
Good. Beautiful. Do you want to just...
Great, it's a wrap.
Do you have any closing comments there, Paul? Anything you want to say? How do you feel?
Do you think
I think we're good.
I think we're good. It is.
It's a lot to take.
Yeah.
I think we're good.
Okay, beautiful. That was beautiful.
It was great.
Well, I hope
And
so.
thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you,
for
Robert.
accepting me.
Thank you. Well, it's easy to do. Are you sure you're not a little bit stressed because your hand's a little cold?
Yeah.
You're lying and warmed up.
Yeah.
I feel I should be giving back to you now.
No, I've just taken all that away from you.
Have you absorbed some of the pain? You think so?
Yeah, all of it.
Jeez, you have.
All of it.
Wow. Is that good?
Yeah, I just give it to the trees.
You give it out to the trees?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, take
I
it.
think you have absorbed some stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Give it
A
all
lot.
to him. Go ahead, give it all to him.
Hey, take it off.
Yeah, just keep sending it.
No, really.
No,
Yeah,
do
give it
that.
all
That's
to
why
him.
we're
Okay.
connected.
Yeah.
I can do that. All right?
We wouldn't be connected if you
That's
weren't
true.
reabsorbing it, but I don't want you to hold on to it.
Oh, it never happens.
You have a way of getting rid of it?
That's me.
Yeah.
That's how I'm built.